Good morning. My name is Chris Fox. Today we're talking Magitech Chronicles lore. Specifically, why did the gods create avatars? How do we get from the Magitech Chronicles, where the Confederate Marines are the most powerful, effective fighting force, and their fleets and their spell tanks and their spell armor is the pinnacle of what is being fielded in modern militaries, to 18-meter war machines with a catalyst for a reactor? Why the change? Because that is a huge investment of magical resources, of divinity specifically, and weakened each of the gods that chose to contribute. Spoilers, if you haven't read the Magitech Chronicles or Magitech Legacy, there'll be some minor ones here. But Aaron is the main protagonist of the original Magitech Chronicles and a very important figure in the lore. If you've read the books, you know. He becomes a god and is one of the most powerful gods in the pantheon. And Aaron is the strategic mastermind behind most of their war plans, and really it's his vote that counts here. So avatars were conceived of by one of the Earthfather's children. So if you remember Briff from Magitech Legacy, this is one of his children, a few millennia after the Systems Alliance has been founded. And the Systems Alliance replaced the Confederacy. It's just a larger version of it, and controlled most of the Milky Way galaxy. And things were going great, but war was getting more and more challenging, because if you send in, let's say, an entire platoon of Marines or a battalion of Marines, most of them tended to die. And you saw that throughout the Magitech Chronicles series. The casualties were huge, both among the tech mages and just normal conventional Marines. And that wasn't sustainable forever. They needed something that could go toe-to-toe with worms without losing. So if they could send these avatars, which are immune to most normal spells because they have that catalyst as their core, then they had a much more potent fighting force. But where did that concept come from? And why did it come about then? Well, if you've read Magitech Legacy, you know towards the end, Aaron gains Zol's memories. So they are different iterations of the same soul. So first came Zol, and he is in Shattered Gods. If you haven't read that series, he's the main character. He eventually dies. His soul comes back as Aaron. So now we have Zol Aaron, where it's got the memories of both peoples. And it's still Aaron, but Aaron now has access to Zol's memories. And in Zol's memories, if you read Shattered Gods, there are tremendously massive avatars that are as tall as a skyscraper, as big as a mountain, and several of the more powerful gods are using them. So we see those in existence. There's also mecha from Turnus in modern day. So the technological mechs already exist, and Aaron had those that he could see as well. And it was the fusion of those two that he decided would be the next epoch of warfare. Because by creating avatars now, their mortal soldiers survive battle after battle after battle and become more potent. And even if an avatar is destroyed, the core is virtually indestructible. So you could simply take that core, insert it into a new avatar you've created, just build a new mecha and insert the core of the appropriate type. And that way they could always have large armies to fight their battles for them. And Aaron, being a strategic thinker, knew if we have access to thousands of these avatars, that he could extend massive battles across the universe without needing to be present in every single theater of war, which up until that point had been a huge problem. The secondary benefit is the gods wipe each other out in every epoch. So you'll notice that almost every god dies. We've got the skull of Zol floating around in space. Croc starts off in the Magitech Chronicles dead, and so do many of the other major gods. A lot of them are sleeping. They've been slumbering for many, many millennia. And Aaron decided that's not something we need to keep doing. So he sued for peace, and he went to his mother, Gortha, the Titan of Void, and said, hey, listen, how about 10,000 years where you don't try and get out, and I don't try and screw you over? And they agreed to this peace, and so the gods stopped fighting. And he decided when the next epoch rolled around, which it does in Battleforged, that the mortals would fight. So they would use these avatars, and the gods would try to stay as aloof as they can and have kind of a pact of non-interference. In this way, he's hoping to change the War of the Titans, because the previous epochs of the War of the Titans have always slaughtered too many people, and it just keeps going. Nothing ever changes. So he finally believes he's found a way that he can change the war and win it. And you're going to find out through the Battleforged novels whether or not that's correct. But I wanted to just drop some short lore about why avatars were created and why they're so important. A lot of people find, from a role-playing perspective, just looking at the RPG rules, that avatars seem a little too powerful, and so do core fighters and core ships, which both have cores in them, because they're all immune to standard magic, which is very, very powerful. It is very much a different change. But it's important to realize that doesn't confer complete immunity. So if you use conventional magic to drop a meteor on somebody, I don't care what your avatar's made of. It's going to be toast if it gets hit by a massive pile of dense rock. Likewise, if you're dealing with adult dragons or gods, they're not immune to divine magic, so temporary divinity will make any spell into a divine spell, and those will torch avatars just like they would anything else. So avatars are tremendously powerful, but they're also limited in their ways, and they don't have access to the same types of spell magic that you would expect to see. So if you're a true mage and you are in an avatar, your spell magic is locked to whatever tome or staff that avatar has. So if you've got a Tome of Illusion, you might have 3 really powerful illusion spells that you can use, and nothing else. Whereas a standard true mage is going to have dozens of spells they can use and probably going to accumulate more the older they get. So that's the long and short of how avatars work and how they changed. And if you have questions about that, please feel free to ask in the comments. I am very much a simulationist player, meaning I need the universe to make sense and to jive with the rules. So that's why they are built the way that they are. And I would encourage questions from you guys about why is it this way? What are some loopholes you think you see? And I'm happy to discuss that in the comments. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the writing on Battleforged 3, and I'll see you guys next week.